Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Marketing Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about physical AI, and that includes robots. And joining me today is David Amar, and he's with a conference called Makina. And of course, that's all going to be about robots, and I'm sure a lot of other physical AI. But before we jump into things, David, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me on, Mark. Bit of a background on me. I studied computer science and neuroscience at UCL. I was working in prosthetics for a while before I decided to launch Makina. And as you said, Mark, Makina it covers the whole physical AI ecosystem, but we are heavy enthusiasts on robots and humanoids.
Yeah. And what is it about the forthcoming humanoids and robots and all that should be of interest to marketers, do you think? Is there a way of putting marketing content, I'm sure there is, on robots, but how do you look at that?
I think for marketing, robots are probably one of the best activations you can have. There's something everybody's interested in robots. I don't think I've ever met somebody that says this isn't interesting. You know, we've all been captivated by Star Wars and Star Trek, and there's something really captivating about them. And I think it's just premium marketing material. Even showcasing my own event, for example, the mere mention that a X or Y robot will be on site is enough to get people to want to simply come to the event. And why particularly humanoids? I think it's just that uncanniness. The fact, I mean, today you see a lot of the marketing material that's built, something I'd like to delve in on after, but a lot of the marketing material that's built, it's just having these robots dance on Instagram, but it's captivating, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing how far we've gotten. So I definitely think that's just an edge for any company to have sort of robots that represent them.
Yeah. And so what would that look like? And, is it 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What should people start being prepared for?
I think genuinely, I think for now, and this is what I wanted to get into. I think, as you've noticed, you look at a lot of the videos of the humanoids online, and sometimes you see them doing amazing things like working in factories or working in homes. As a physical AI enthusiast myself, I can say that we are still far off from that happening. It's mainly a technical bottleneck for various reasons. But I would say in 10 years, be prepared to see them in places you never would have imagined, right? Right now, AI is owning the digital space. We've
Yeah.
essentially almost all become slaves, right? We've become slaves to ChatGPT in a way. The days where ChatGPT servers are down, I'm paralyzed. But we're not yet physical slaves to them. I
Right.
would say watch in 10, 15 years how much we might become dependent on these machines in every aspect.
Okay. Wow. All right. So I think most people understand that AI is going to take over marketing, but on the physical side, there's probably some skepticism as to, how. I mean, would a robot be actually sitting at their desk and taking over, or is it, robots would be marketing their products or services in another way we haven't even thought of?
I think you kind of answered it yourself there that robots sitting at a computer and typing that's not useful, especially not humanoids, right? They are essentially being built for, industrial settings or, you know, homeware settings. I don't think it'll be in the sense that you'll have a robot typing at your desk and sending out email outbounds and marketing posts. That's what ChatGPT and Claude is going to replace. I think robots and marketing, it's going to be much more intertwined as sort of the avatar for companies, right? I think more and more you're going to see these robots represent, and you already see them. Actually, today, for example, you have Boston Dynamics robots that I think is doing an opening ceremony at the FIFA World Cup,
Yeah.
which is novel, and that just shows how much it's also entering that space. And I think, yeah, more and more we're going to have these physical avatars for every company. You'll have the, I don't know, you have the dedicated Amazon robot, you have the dedicated Walmart robot, and they'll sort of serve as the new mascots, you know.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I love the branding opportunities. I definitely see those. I'm just wondering if there's anything. We're just doing a thought experiment right now. If I was selling products, I wonder if I'd have robots kind of doing demonstrations in retail outlets or on the street or in places where I knew my target audience would be. and that could be quite interesting. Kind
Yeah,
of
there.
reminds
I
me,
think there. Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, kind of reminds me of an advanced form of those people that you hire to spin a billboard around on the street, next to your store. Uh, Kind of reminds me of that. An activation, I think, is what they call it.
Exactly, yeah, activation. I think there's exactly a company doing that, although I saw them the other day. I forgot their name, but definitely. I think product demos in the future, for many reasons. Once again, because of the sort of the enchanting behind a robot, I have no doubt that they will be done by these machines.
Yeah.
Um, there's just something more charming of like a C3PO showing the new Coca-Cola than just a regular old Joe. Even if it's George Clooney, I'd rather see C3PO sipping a Coke Zero. So I think in that sense, and it's exactly activations. I think in that sense, it will change the marketing world. But I do think right now the first thing that's revolutionizing the marketing world is digital AI, of course, and you see it just in your workflows. I imagine every day. But be wary of humanoids, and I think humanoids will be more of an assistance to humans than taking over humans in this domain.
Now, when
Uh,
you say humanoids, or I'm sorry, what'd you say?
yeah, I did say humanoids.
Yeah, when you say humanoids, what do you mean by that? What's the difference between humanoids and robots?
So a humanoid is a robot that has sort of the same physiology and form as a human, and we generally attribute anthropomorphic traits to it. Whereas a robot can be just a robot dog or R2D2 style robot. So human is really something that looks like a human, both in
Mhm.
its height, its stature, and the way it moves in the world, right?
Good. Yep, it's a good explanation of it. Because a robot could be anything. It could be something that's just an arm, or
Exactly.
it doesn't even look like a robot. Whereas a humanoid looks pretty much like a human. I think it'll get more and more, to a point where you can't just distinguish it in 20 years. But we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into your predictions about some of these things. I mean, we're already starting to see some pretty cool things come out of Boston Dynamics and Tesla and quite a few Chinese companies, although I don't think half of those are real when they're making those demonstrations on stage. But when do we see kind of an in-home humanoid robot that can accomplish, pretty much what a housekeeper can accomplish?
Yeah. I think I have a layered answer to that. My first thing, and you sort of covered it. Right now, the dichotomy is the West is building the software and Asia is building the hardware, right? There's not that much communication between the two. They're both really good in those individual aspects, but they are lacking the other side, right? So China has definitely advanced America on hardware, and they are basically the first ones that you can. Essentially, there's very few commercialized robots that are American right now. I think you can get Fauna Robotics. That's about it. A few other companies. Whereas right now, you can go online, order a Unitree, order an AGI bot, order I don't know, a Gal bot, and have that shipped at your home in less than a month, right? So that's the main difference. Now, as to whether when I expect we could have these in our homes, it's a really good question. I think nobody really knows. So you have one of the companies that's focusing the most on this, and the CEO is actually coming to Makina, is 1X. So 1X is really building, I would say, probably the most advanced models in this sense that are entirely dedicated to sort of housekeeping chores, or at least that's what the advertises as. But the thing is, we don't really know. We don't really see live demos outside of their own demos, and that goes back to marketing in the sense that it is true that a lot of these companies are marketing sort of these demos and showing videos of the robots doing incredible things, even though we know we won't see them in our homes for a very long time. Is it to gain more capital, more relevancy, to build momentum, or is it genuinely that they're stuck on some technical bottlenecks and in the meantime they have to buy time? We don't know. I think with companies like 1X and Sunday Robotics, which are pretty close, they're already delivering robots in about, I think 1X is delivering about 1,000 robots this year throughout America or something like that, or maybe 10,000 robots. Yeah, I think in the next 5 to 7 years, once we solve a few technical problems, particularly manipulation of small objects and computer vision and unmapped, walking around unmapped areas, I think you will be able to order these online in 5-7 years, I'd say. That's my estimate. Don't quote me on this, Mark, but maybe in 5-7 years, you'll email me and tell me, David, I have
Right.
15
No, we'll have
robots
you
working
back
around
on
my
here.
house.
We'll humiliate you here on the podcast,
Ah, well
or we'll
done, well
be
done.
like, "Wow, you nailed it."
Visionary.
Exactly. Nobody really knows. There's too many complexities, but
Yeah,
you could see a general trend. It's going to happen. They will be terrible out of the gate, and they'll get better and better, just like anything.
yeah, 100%. 100%. And these robots really entirely feed on. If you look at right now, the robots that are currently being used in houses from 1X, they're mainly trial models to collect as much data as possible to really create the real models that we will all have in 5-7 years. So once again, it's all about this enormous. If you think general AI and LLMs need data, think 10 times more for humanoids, right? That every single sort of touch perception,
Mhm.
computer vision component that's needed in these robots, they need an infinitely big amount of data set and even larger amount of compute. So a lot of the robots that you're seeing now are essentially just training grounds for the future better robots.
And where are they getting the compute from?
Same as AI. I mean, you still have these robots are built on board. They mainly use NVIDIA models like the Jetson, et cetera,
Mhm.
Jetson boards. But the actual compute to train the models is pretty much just using similar centers as for the AI ones. A lot of them, if you look at, for example, Figure, or sorry, was it 1X or Figure? Um, they're now building their own robot brain, but before they were subletting that to OpenAI to sort of build the OS behind it, right? And a lot of companies, a lot of humanoid companies aspire to be vertical and aspire to have everything in house, but they are rarely able to. So they usually have to delegate to different providers for different aspects, especially training the models.
Yeah. Okay, so but when the robot is operating in the wild, where is the
Yeah.
compute coming from at that point?
So once the robot is operating in the wild, which is very rare once again, it's already been trained, right?
Mhm.
So it's sort of a local, it's running off a local model. You can run it on Wi-Fi as well, which I think is what most people are doing. But for the most part, so you have various boards, literally like as you see in the movies, in the chest of the robot, where the AIs, the different VLAs and VLMs, etc., are already trained. So it's often live streaming as well, to sort of collect that data, and definitely information is being transmitted over Wi-Fi. But yeah, as I said, the models have been trained for a very long time before.
Okay. Yeah, because it seems to me that if it's not done over Wi-Fi, I wonder how limited it will be on an actual robot. Because yeah, it's been trained, but there's so many new things that could happen to a robot in a day that
Yeah,
I'm just curious. I wonder if there's a somebody's thought this through and can come on and kind of talk about that. But I
yeah,
know
that'd
this
be
is
interesting.
yeah futuristic stuff. Okay, and then let's kind of look at your event on July 7th in Paris. Tell us a little bit about what it's about and why marketers should go.
Yeah, 100%. So as I said initially, I think Makina comes sort of from the thesis that current conferences in the spaces are not necessarily addressing the real issues at hand. So I mean, I was just at a conference this week. It was a great event. I won't name drop here, but it was mainly techs and geek guys to techs and geek guys, right? And I've been to other so-called robotics conferences, and it's just been commercial to commercial. So we really are trying to regroup the very fragmented ecosystem that is physical AI, making sure that the humanoid builders are meeting the robot brain assemblers, who are in turn meeting the necessary capital, meeting the necessary industrial partners, and having access to physical AI talents, right? So we really try to be, I would call us the vertical stack of physical AI in terms of ecosystems, where we try to group everybody together for a 1 day event in lovely Paris in July, by the way. So
Hmm.
it's always a great time to stop by, anyways. And yeah, we're expecting over 1,500 people. It's taking place at Station F. So for those of you that don't know what Station F is, it's the largest startup campus in the world, I believe. That's what it qualifies as. So it's a great place to host the event. And a lot of the companies that I've name dropped, some kindly, some less on this call, are actually coming to Makina. So, for example, you have the CEO of Boston Dynamics that's coming, the new one, Amanda. You have the CEO of 1X, Bernd Bornich, who's coming, but they're building cool products. The CEO of the head of Google DeepMind Robotics that's coming. So we're really building a great cast of C-levels and leaders in the space. Why now should marketers come to the event? First of all, marketers, there will be a lot of marketers from actual physical AI. But even if you aren't in physical AI, I think it goes back to my first initial point. I think humanoids will be a very important activation in the future for companies. I would be very surprised if most companies, once again, in about 10 years, don't all have a sort of robot avatar that they use regularly in their marketing to do their, as you said, Mark, and suggested earlier, to do their product demos, to do their I don't know, fail montages or use as dummies, right? And no longer do you need to sacrifice humans for embarrassing videos when
No.
you have just a practical robot living in your office, right? So I would be very surprised if we didn't use these as avatars in the futures for most companies. So that's why I think general marketers should come.
Okay. Good. I'd also add, you want to always get ahead of this and really understand it so you can start preparing for it as they come online. Now you got some time, but just understanding what is going on and what the future is of robots. Sounds like you got some pretty prestigious people that are going. I think is a good thing. Now your event is in English, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're attracting a very global audience. So it's mainly American, but you also have the Asian companies that are coming. So it's in English. And yeah, exactly, Mark. As you said, it's always good to get ahead of the game. And for anybody that's sort of in any sort of marketing in software or tech, once again, physical AI is, Jensen Huang said it at the beginning of this year, but it is currently the GPT moment for physical AI. As you can see this year, the amount of capital that's been raised for different humanoid and robotics companies. In fact, the amount of robot companies that have popped up this year out of nowhere and raised crazy amounts of capital. It's insane. So we are living in a bull run, hopefully not a bubble, but we are living in a bull run of physical AI. And yeah, I think it's important to stay on top of these things,
Oh, 100%.
whatever you may work on.
Yeah, 100%. And then in terms of your event, is it uh, one day in Paris? And where about in Paris is it? Is it in the city or is it outside the city?
So it's the physical AI event is one day, and it's in the 13th district of
Okay.
Paris, so it's pretty central. But we are paired with the Race Summit, so it's sort of our parent company, if you will, and the event takes place on July 8th and 9th, so right after Makina,
Okay.
and they are just a general AI, trad AI conference.
Yeah, still very good.
That's yeah, 100%.
And
It's
then
very important.
how many robots do you think will be at your event?
That's a great question. I was actually just trying to make those estimations yesterday. I think you have the difference between the robots that'll be on stage and then the robots exhibiting. I'll tell you, my personal target is at least 18 to 20. I'm hoping. So
I'll tell you,
hopefully,
I was at the NVIDIA
yeah,
event, and there was a few there, but it wasn't as many as I thought. I didn't see anything from Boston Dynamics or Tesla, which I thought was a big miss. This is
yeah,
NVIDIA GTC, and you didn't. You had some from other companies that did a pretty good job, but they're all wired up. None were kind of autonomous that I saw. If you in the audience saw some that wasn't that you can interact with, let me know. But I was expecting to see a lot of them kind of running around. There were some dog robots running around, but I didn't see any humanoid robots.
yeah. It's I couldn't make it to GTC, but my team told me the same thing. And Optimists, they tend to stay in the shade with their robots, usually at their own events. They showcase them. Uh, And Boston is more secretive, especially with its humanoid Atlas, because they are a research-driven company, and that's what I like a lot about Boston is that they don't do a lot of hyped marketing unless they actually have a product to offer. But yeah, I did hear that there wasn't that many robots at GTC, surprisingly. And the dog robots are generally, those are all the Unitree models, right? As I said, so China beat America by a few years by being the first one to ship these models. You know, you had the Boston Dynamics Spot, which
Mm-hmm.
is the famous yellow dog robot that's been around for, I don't know, 7 years.
Yeah.
That's just been the American flagship robot model you can order online. But these Chinese companies have really beat America by a few years easily.
Are they
It's going to
really?
be source of so hardware wise, they're very solid. Software, it's something else. It's a different story. So they they work technically speaking, but what can you actually make them do is the better question, right? And once again, most of the robots they're selling now, they are also trying to collect as much data from them to actually train robots that are useful
Yeah.
too. And what like you my maybe some of my parting words will be that right now you see a lot of companies that are announcing partnerships with industrial partners, which is what we try to push as well at Makina. So you have like Hexagon Robotics that's working with Mercedes, I think, and Figure with BMW, and Boston with Hyundai because Hyundai is their parent company. And I do believe that in very specific scenarios and very specific situations, you can get these robots to perform simple tasks that humans can as well, maybe in a more efficient way. But once again, it has to be super specified with a minimum of uncertainty. Other than that, a lot of these robots, once again, just can dance, can smile, can wave, and nothing more for now. So we're safe, and the Terminator is not coming next year.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, on that note, maybe we'll have you back after the event, and I think I might be going to it.
Hopefully.
So if you're in Paris on July 7th, 8th, and 9th, go to the Makina event and the AI Rise Summit event, and let me know if you're going because we'd love to meet up with you.